Hello, Artverse. This is Rachel. I'm the founder of the Artverse, and today we have two beautiful, fantastic legends in this space who, fortunately for me, were able to have time this Friday morning. It's August 5th. So I'm actually not going to do too much talking in this space because I really want to focus on these two and their stories and what they're bringing to the NFT space. So we're going to start with Sarah. Sarah, welcome, welcome. I'm so glad to have you. Please, do you want to just share a little bit about yourself and who you are?
Thank you, darling. I would love to do that, and I'm sorry for calling you darling, but I'm a film person, so I'm allowed to say darling, but I only say that to people that I really feel that are my darlings. So yeah, thanks, Rach. I really appreciate the opportunity. So yeah, I'm Sarah Grayson. I'm 1/3 of Sungrazers, and we're an NFT collaboration, which is between my husband Jerry, who's the pilot and sometimes still shooter. I also shoot stills. And he's also the director of the films we make, for which I produce. So IMAX films, motion simulator ride films, TV commercials, music videos, that kind of thing. And yeah, we're aerial filmmakers. As you can see, I'm quite old. I say I'm an OG, I'm an old girl. And been in the NFT space since May last year, actually. So May 2021. And in fact, minted our first pieces in June, actually on Known Origin, which was an Ethereum platform. And they were film pieces with original music and sound. And we have a really gorgeous collaborator who's a young fellow. He's the YG to Jerry and my's OGs. And he's a guy called Toby Dundas, and he founded a band called the Temper Trap, which I think anyone that was around for the last 15 years would know. Anyway, he's a lovely fellow, and he writes all the scores for the NFTs that we create, and those are the music and film NFTs. So yeah, that's just kind of like a little bit about, I guess, the background, the NFTs, things that we've been doing up until a month ago. And a month ago, I was ready to deep dive into our stills collection. And I'd really been looking for a greener, cleaner platform than the Ethereum platforms, which we are on. And last year we had been on an alternative green platform, which is based on the H-bar currency, the Hedera network. And we had a lot of sales last year, which was great, really brilliant. But the platforms weren't as, maybe as good as UI, UX as the Sloika platform, which I know is Ethereum and Object. So I deep dived into Object, I guess in the last 3 or 4 months, and I reached out to Leo back in May. We were going to meet, then I got COVID, then I went on location shooting, and so we didn't get to meet until only a couple of weeks ago. And I've been really encouraged by people like those that I've met in Object to revisit our stills collection. And so in the last, I think it's actually only a week now, we've released a collection on Object, which is all based around Hurricane Katrina material. And about 2 months ago, we were invited onto Sloika, also to mint Katrina material, and it's much more abstract and surrealistic, but stills rather than film at this stage. The issue for us with the film NFTs we create is that the file sizes are large. Obviously we can compress them, but they don't look crash hot to us. We can give the unlocked content to the collectors in full res. And there's actually a gorgeous platform called First Dibs. It's quite unknown to some people. It's more fine art auction house like Sotheby's and Christie's. They have got an NFT division. And so we've got some of our large files on First Dibs. So yeah, that's just kind of like, I don't want to go on forever because there's a little bit of a background, I guess.
A little bit. Oh my gosh, that was a lot, and I feel there's so much more. But thank you for sharing a little bit of what you do, because
No
I
problem.
I've been just recently really connected with you in the space, and I've been blown away, like absolutely blown away by your films, the short clips, just how you interact in this space. It's just been really wonderful to see that. Um, as like one female to another, I'm just like, wow, this woman is who I want to be when I become an OG.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Well, honestly, Rach, you're one of the first people that I connected with in the whale community. I think you and I might have been curated by DC at a similar time. So this was back in, I guess it was May. We were in. They basically curated a batch of 20 photographers, and we were one, although it was with a film collection of ours. And those pieces we minted on Maker's Place, and we set up that fantastic whale chat group. And you know, people like Leslie are in there. Obviously, well, not obviously, but Victoria is in there. Gull is in there. Pellin's in there. Yourself is in there. And for me, you know, I'm one of 4 kids. I've got 3 brothers. I'm used to, you know, I'm in a collaboration with 2 other guys, but it's really lovely to get the energy, you know, the female energy from that particular group. And yeah, no, I really hear what you're saying. So yeah, thank you for saying that.
No, absolutely. I think what you said is important to say, because females, we don't like to make a fuss. We don't like to, you know, point out something when it doesn't seem to be as important. But I think it is important, especially in Web3, to have
Yeah.
representation, to have, you know, transparency in everything we do, and not just what we do on the blockchain, but who we are as people. Um, yeah. Yeah. So
Yeah.
thank you for sharing that. So let's go over to, I'm going to mispronounce your name.
No, you're not. What
Okay.
did you say? Yeah.
Yay. Hey, well, thank you so much for joining this call with Sarah. I'm so happy to have you. And I believe both of you are in Australia. Melbourne.
Yeah. Same spot. Amazing.
So wait, have you both met before in real life?
Yeah, we
Yes.
met like weeks ago. So we made it happen.
Oh my gosh.
Which was really nice. Yeah, so Sarah reached out, you know, she said, I don't think, actually, when you first messaged me, Sarah, I don't think you knew I was in Australia. You just saw my Chasing Waves photos and you went, oh, it's nice that you've been to Australia. And I was like, no, I actually live in Australia.
Exactly.
And then, you know, we realized we're in the same city. So yeah, that's where, you know, we started talking, and we decided to meet, but then Sarah caught COVID, and it was like, oh man. So yeah, we met 2 weeks ago, and it was amazing. We chatted for 2 hours. It was just like time just went, you know. It was great. It was great. So
it literally was. I mean, it felt like I'd heard Leo speak quite a lot in spaces, and I loved her laughter, and I loved her energy, and I really loved her art. Obviously, I loved her art. Her art's amazing. And so when we met, it was like, hug, how are you? How are the kids? You know, it was
like old friends, like, oh.
Yeah. It was really cool.
So yeah, it's been nice. And you know, Rach, like, I don't know, I'm part of Artverse. I love what you're doing, and I fully support what you're doing, and it's just an honor to be interviewed by you. So thanks.
Well, now the honor is all mine, obviously, because the Artverse is only as good as the artist, and obviously you're just incredibly talented. I love your waves, coastal images. Like, you sent them in, and I was just like, who is this? What? Really beautiful. But Leah, please tell us a little bit about yourself. So, what kind of artist are you, and how did you start?
Wow. So I'm gonna take you back to about 10 years ago. This is when I was still in IT. My career was in IT. I was never meant to be a photographer. I began, just I picked up my little compact camera. I don't even know what brand it was. I think it was Lumix or something. I didn't even know Lumix was a cool brand at that time. And I take shots of nature. I love nature, like the cloud formations and all that. It just used to inspire me to take photos. So I'd just walk around taking photos with my little compact camera or my mobile or whatever. And then Instagram came on the scene. So it was like, I can post my stuff and share it. And, people would comment. Back then, Instagram was still good for engagement.
Yeah.
So, I did a lot of that. And I think that's where photography started becoming more of like I don't know, it just gave me life rather than sitting in an office doing IT work, which, I mean, I love technology, but sitting at a desk and just doing the same thing every day was kind of getting boring. So I thought I want to move away from this kind of lifestyle. And at that time, I was with my husband, and we hadn't had kids yet. So I was like, we have savings, like, can I just explore? And he was awesome because he was like, yeah, why not? I got my job. We have savings. So yeah, just go out there and explore. So I actually did a bit of music like course just because I love music. And I found this short-term course that was like a studio production type setting. And I did that for a few days. It was like a really short course, but it gave me life. I felt so alive, like creating, And I was like, oh, this is what I want. I want to be creating, But then a few weeks after that, I got pregnant. So it was like a sign that, my body was ready to create life. And it happened just, naturally. And I felt so fulfilled. And I was like, it's good I quit my job because I can just enjoy pregnancy. And, so I spent like, the 9 months just shooting, enjoying myself, doing things that I like, creating and all the things. So in about 2013, I began submitting my work to like competitions. And I got a lot of attention, like recognition. I remember one time I submitted a shot to Nat Geo Your Shot, and I got like when the editor like kind of shortlists your shot, I was like, oh my gosh, a Nat Geo editor. That was like a wake-up call for me. I was like, I'm meant to be doing this. This is like, it's my passion, but like I can make it something else. So I really got into, like I got a DSLR camera. I started editing in Lightroom and dabbling in Photoshop and just everything. I would experiment a lot. And I really enjoyed, just creating. So that's how I got into photography. And it was just amazing.
And then NFTs came along for us all. Oh my gosh.
My gosh, somewhere in lockdown, yes.
Exactly.
Oh my God. Oh, I love that. I just learned so much more about your story, and that was amazing. I think what you said, or what came out to me, was that your love of photography has really driven you into where you are now, but it has also been supported by external factors, like the Nat Geo shot, the competitions, that external validation, which I know some people are like, oh, you don't need it. But I'm like, as artists, we do.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah. The recognition. Yeah.
Exactly. And that's a really interesting thing that you just said, Rach, because, you know, we're all in different chat groups. You know, some of us have been around for, you know, 18 months or a year or 3 months or whatever it might be. And there's quite a big discussion at the moment going on about success. And, you know, is success your floor price? Is it the number of sales you've made? Is it the number of sales on secondary? You know, what is it? And I always say in the groups that I'm in, you know, there isn't any one success. Like for us, is the next piece of work that we release better than the last piece? Not that we don't love our previous pieces, but, you know, how are we improving and stretching ourselves as artists? But also the exhibitions that we are getting included in, those of us that are, or the Nat Geo Awards that Leo was mentioning, those to me are as important, if not more important. I mean, it's just, I don't know who I am.
I absolutely agree, and I'm not knocking those OGs of the NFT space, because, you know, we all say, "Oh, this is just the beginning. This is just the beginning," and us and NFTs were like, we feel so old. We feel like we've been in here for like years, but it is true. We are in the beginning, and the fact of the matter is that we don't know yet what is possible. So we're looking to people who have made it before, and we're making that our standard of what is success. And I think that's kind of poisonous to our mindsets, where we're limiting ourselves really onto what path is the best path to go forward here. And so I love what you just said, where we just, you know, you have to be better than you were yesterday. And that's good for every person, every aspect, every career. But as artists, we really have that external factor where it is a product that people judge and see. It's not just an action. So, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And I feel like for me, I remember when I was just starting out, I'd edit with like, you know, phone apps. And I thought, wow, these are awesome. But like now when I look at them, I'm like, ah, it hurts my eyes. But you know, I've come a long way, because I did so many tutorials, you know, within the last 10 years, and it's built me up to a, you know, to a better standard. So I feel like it's only gonna get better and better the more I do it. And yeah, that's growth right there.
Exactly. Yeah. No, I think that's right. I mean, I think it's that in every phase of life, whether it's our work IRL, or whether it's our NFTs, or whether that's our families, whether that's our personal growth. You know, I do yoga every day for lots of reasons, but it's my happy place, and I need that level for me, and it gives me perspective. Everything gives me perspective: the family, the IRL, the art, and then all the extra personal stuff I do. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, well, then that's a question I would like to ask both of you is, since you both have been in this space for a little bit of time, how have you found the balance between your in real life and NFTs? Or have you found a balance?
Right. Oh my God. I'm gonna let Leo just literally stop and draw breath, because my situation is a little bit different, in that my children are in England and I'm in Melbourne, and my brothers are in England, and my nieces and my nephews and my godchildren, they're all in England. And Jerry and I came over here at the beginning of 2003 for 6 months, to shoot Australia from the air, and we just fell in love with the place. So we went back to England after 6 months, and we told the kids who'd finished school, this is what we're going to be doing. You know, they came out and joined us. They'd finished school, but they then chose to go to university in the UK. So in our case, how we balance NFT and IRL is that, honestly, because of lockdown, that we had this horrendous lockdown in Melbourne, for the whole of last year, 2020, sorry, 2020 and 2021.
Mm.
And like Leo will say, we couldn't get on location, we as filmmakers. All of our projects came to an end, like every single project. We couldn't leave our home beyond 5 kilometers. And we didn't have our children here. So we literally stopped because IRL stopped. And that was when we deep dived into NFTs, and it became as consuming as it is when you adore what you found. Obviously now, well, actually at the end of last year, Australia opened up and we went back to England for 3 months. We didn't do Twitter for I was doing Twitter, but I wasn't speaking. And we came back here in March, and then we just went absolutely crazy with creating new work and releasing material. But yeah, I guess my life is different to Leo's in that I start calls to England, like when I finish this chat, then we'll call our daughter, and then we've got a call. Our son lives in Dubai. We're going back to England in September for a friend's wedding. We'll go back at Christmas. So we balance it by expensive air tickets, I suppose, and long hours. Yeah, I mean, it's great, but it's not the same as Leah. So I'm going to stop talking. Sorry, Dar.
Well, for me, it's been really tricky, with Twitter. Like, the thing about me, I get really obsessive about stuff. When I enjoy something, I'll just immerse myself in it. And with NFTs, even my kids make fun of me. They're like, oh, PFP, NFT, la la la. Like, I'm just walking around saying that to me, and I'm like, oh gosh. But yeah, it's been tricky to balance Twitter Spaces, how long I spend on Twitter Spaces, because you're sitting in there listening. It's so interesting, and then next thing you know, 2 hours have passed, and I'm like, I need to put the kids to bed. Like all these things. So yeah, I've had to like remind myself these kids are gonna grow up, and I'm gonna be like, why did I do that? Why did I sit on Twitter for hours? So yeah, that's something I'm working on. It's a work in progress, so I can't say I have the answers yet. But in terms of like editing work, I normally do it when they're at school. So I have like a whole day. If I want to dedicate to that, I have a whole day until I go pick them up. So that's how I do it.
Yeah, and similar to you, if I'm curating a collection of ours, I'll do that whilst I'm listening to a Spaces. So I can curate the pieces, and then Jerry and I can do the edit, the color grade, and so on together. Because the thing about Spaces is that, you can be in one for, like today, I think it was 5 or 6 hours, which was an extraordinary, the Tes for Nature one, it was amazing.
Oh, yeah.
And there were some seriously extraordinary nuggets that came out of that, which nobody in the room knew other than the one person that mentioned that particular tech thing. So you kind of have to be there, but I can't. I mean, Jerry laughs that I love to talk, because you might have gathered. And when we got into NFTs, he said that I would be very happy because I could talk to people all the time. But look, to be honest, it actually took me, I think we minted last May, we dropped in June, the end of June. It took a month for the 2 Genesis pieces to sell. So I had 3 months where I was listening, and I didn't say a word because I thought people would think, who the heck's this? What's she done? And I'd listen to Victoria, and I'd listen to Janie Fitzgerald, and I'd listen to Monica, and I'd be like, I can't say anything. And then the day that we sold, which was a year ago today, I was like, oh my God.
Wait, oh my goodness, happy anniversary.
We're having champagne after this, I promise you.
Excellent.
Yeah, so no, but just backing up what you were saying there, it's definitely something that if we're doing a sound mix, we can't obviously have Spaces on. And if I'm on location shooting, I can't really be thinking about what I'm shooting with Spaces on. If I'm just walking for, clearing my head or inspiration, no, probably clearing my head. I don't have spaces on if I'm clearing my head.
No, I think it's such an interesting mix because half the people I talk to, they're like, I hate spaces. I'm one of them. I avoid spaces like the plague. I know there's a lot of good nuggets in there, but there's also a lot of non-good nuggets.
Yeah.
And I'm not an audio person because I have a hearing disorder. So for me, spaces are really hard because I'm a photographer. I like the visual.
Yeah.
um, but I think what you guys are saying is that spaces are such a way to connect with people.
That's it.
It's to
Definitely.
hear each other's voices, and it's no longer, taking our phones and be like, "Oh, this is my selfie prop." It's actually your microphone. And Sarah, I love being able to hear you speak, and Leanne, I love hearing you speak and laugh as well, because I think what you both bring to the table is more than just me concepts. It's a lot about the community. It's a lot about what you're learning. It's a lot about sharing knowledge and also being open to different ideas.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, when I just got into Lone Origin last year, and after we had this Genesis sale, we'd set up, I think, a clubhouse group for KO because there were no spaces for KO. There was no clubhouse. And so we would meet. It was my Sunday morning. I think it was like 8 a.m., which was the right time of day for LA, Chicago, and so on, and not so bad for Europe. And we had really an eclectic group of artists. So I think there was only one photographer at that time, a really gorgeous New Zealand guy, John Kane, if you know him, a really talented guy, and us as filmmakers and photographers, and everybody else were digital artists of one form or another. But I kind of felt that, in setting or being one of the people that set up that clubhouse, it was not my role to talk about us. It was my role to get those that were in the clubhouse to come talk about their week. And it was really, honestly, it was 4 months of great sharing our journey. It was really lovely. Community is what we're saying, isn't it?
Yeah, with community, I feel like that's what's kept me going back. I have a group of friends that are like my family at the moment because when I wake up, like, I know this is a bad habit, but I go into the group to check like what happened overnight.
So do I.
And it's so funny. And we're almost like family. We talk about what's going on in our real lives and how to go about the NFT space. Sometimes it can be a bit crazy with all the trends happening. So we share ideas and we share what's going on in our lives, and it's just become really like tight knit to the point when one person leaves, we're like, no. But it's fine. I mean, some people need their time, to have a break, and it can get too much. So it's understandable. But yeah, community definitely makes me keep coming back to the Twitter spaces and sharing ideas. And like that's why when I did my first edition on OpenSea on Ethereum, I called it Stand Together, because I found this image that I took a while back at the 12 Apostles Great Ocean Road. Sarah, you know this spot. I don't know if, Rachel, I don't think you've been there.
I'm not, but I do know it. It's like on
yeah,
my
yeah.
need to go.
So, these two rock stacks, they're like standing almost next to each other. There's a bit of social distancing happening, but I felt like, yes, this is the image I'm going to use for this, because I want to give that message out to everyone I met in the NFT space that has been so supportive and just like, standing through the tough times with the market going crazy up and down and whatever. We've just kept each other, really strong, and just keep creating and sharing. And, even the little comments like, I love this image, I love the composition. It makes such a difference. It's like that dopamine hit that we need every day just to keep going. And yeah, that's why I had to do the edition stand together. It was like just dedicated to everyone who's wonderful that I've met. So yeah.
Yeah, I guess we could have a whole different, space or week or month on just community. But I think it's really important to just pull that out for any new person coming into the space. It is so hard to find people who are like you, especially in a space so new and where you're also really uncertain about what's going on. I have so much to learn. They're speaking another language here in NFTs. Why is everyone on 24/7? Or they seem to be on 24/7. Yeah, but I think I'm going to share my screen and I'm going to share both of your profiles and a little bit of your art. Of course, if you want to say something about it, please feel free to speak up. But I'm going to start. Okay, I'm going to figure this out because I got this.
So I can't believe you're doing this. I can't believe you've just got off an airplane and you're doing this.
It's amazing.
Oh, no. This is normal.
There it is.
So to everyone who's watching this on YouTube and on Twitter, please follow Sarah. Here is her handle, Heli Films. Wonderful. You have to explain that in just a second. But we have her work here. Gorgeous. Oh my gosh. When I saw this image, I immediately went to the link and then I saw it was sold. So there's that. But oh my goodness.
Thank you. Has that piece just sold today? I haven't looked at any of our sales for the last 3 hours, I have to say. So
no, I thought it was sold when I looked to, was it on Sloika?
Yeah, it's on Sloika, the double buses. It was there. It was actually chosen last week to be their web banner. And has it just sold? Oh my gosh, I can't believe it. If it
wait,
has.
no, I'm sorry.
Oh no, it's available.
I saw this number, so I thought it meant like it was sold. I didn't see this number. Oh my goodness. That is on me.
Oh, don't seriously, don't even worry about it. So the extraordinary thing about that piece, Rach, if you just stay on that just for a minute. So that's a really surrealistic image from the Hurricane Katrina collection. And Jerry and I really love the surreal artists. We're both really inspired by Salvador Dali. Not that that's necessarily Dali-esque, but what you can see if you zoom into that shot is, if you zoom right in, that's actually a trail of yellow school buses.
Oh.
But we called it seahorses because to us it looks like a wave. It looks like a seahorse coming through the water. But it's actually, and we called the collection Katrina Worlds because the whirl that we used in each of those images really to us mirrored the hurricane, the maelstrom that we saw beneath us. And what we wanted to do with this collection was, of course, show the drama, but also show it in an artistic way. We have got a lot of material which is more kind of photo reportage, but with this particular collection and for Sloika, which is a beautiful, beautiful platform and photography and film based, no PFPs, we wanted to really hit with one of ones with this pretty unique work. We were the only helicopter allowed into the airspace, other than there was one other news gathering machine. And going back to the name Heli Films, it's because we shoot from helicopters. We are helicopter filmmakers.
Oh.
So yeah, those four pieces, Rach, the one top left, the broken. Okay, that piece is actually on object, and it's a broken road. And if it could be thought of being photojournalistic in style or reportage, but again, it's got our kind of more surrealistic eye to it. in the sense that the couple standing on that white circle bottom left, which is highlighted, obviously, are really, if you zoom right down into the image, you can see that they're looking on with complete disbelief at the scale of the disaster around them. You know, the broken concrete in the foreground, the broken highway. But you know, you wouldn't say that's really reportage. It still kind of has our artistic, I guess, eye to things. Sorry, I'm going on a bit. Sorry.
No, I love it. I love that you're explaining everything, because you know I see this and I get hit in the face with like the devastation, and then I love how you're bringing awareness to, you know, the scale of just how much this devastation was, and just kind of the stockness of being there in person. Also, I love your name, Heli Films. Like, do you shoot exclusively from helicopters? Like, no drones?
So all of this material, the Katrina material, was all shot by helicopter. So we'd actually been in LA for about 6 weeks before the hurricane came through. And we had been taking delivery of an extraordinary gyrostabilized camera, which we have shot a lot of our NFTs with. And that sits under the nose of the helicopter. These stills we actually shot handheld. Jerry shot them with a Canon EOS 1DS with an image stabilizer. And then we bring the material into our edit suite and we play with the whirls, the manipulation, the color grading, and so on. The piece that you're looking at, the golden, that one, yeah, exactly, Drowned Wood. That's a very emotional piece. We couldn't stay in New Orleans because there was no accommodation. The closest we could get was Baton Rouge. There was no accommodation. So I actually hired a Winnebago and we drove down from LA down to a schoolyard where we parked up, and we basically lived in this Winnebago. We slept underneath the helicopter, and we would fly from Baton Rouge down to New Orleans every day for 2 weeks. And this is a piece that to me shows the scale of the devastation, and it's a mirror of another piece in this collection, which is a silver Drowned Wood. They're different locations. One is sunset, one is sunrise. It's the same state, but they are miles and miles apart. And they tell a very different story, but they tell the story of the scale of the destruction that we were seeing. But again, through our bias, if that's understandable.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. Oops, I'm going to. Oops.
I just want to say, you know, with Sarah's and Jerry's work, I just find it incredible that you've been to these places that we saw on the news, you know, and you were down there on the ground, like basically, you know, documenting this, which is so important. You know, with documentary photography, you can't fake it. Like what you see is what you capture. So it's like, it's great that there are people like you guys who go into these places and like get the real what's going on. And the fact that you're creating art with it as well is just amazing. I love it. I love it.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, look, what you, and I think it's really gorgeous, Rach, that you asked Leo and I to speak today together, because your work in Ethiopia, your black and white art, is really important, in my opinion. So for you to say that of ours is humbling to me that you feel that. So thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, I love this. I love this, because I think both of you are just so incredibly strong in and of yourselves. I'm going to go over to Liat's work so she can share a little bit about it. But then,
let's do it.
Yeah. Okay. To the window. Here we go. Here we
Did
go.
you just almost sing that song?
It's fine. It's fine. Okay. Oh my goodness. One, can I just say your PFP, gorgeous, gorgeous
Thank
photo of
you,
yourself.
thank you. That was my barber trying to try out his camera on me. Like,
great,
oh,
great
take a
job.
shot of my haircut. The haircut I gave you. But yeah.
Okay, so is this the
So
collection?
that's yeah, that's one of the series photos that I minted on Object. But what I want to say before I go into this, the Object minting, is that these photos I had actually exhibited about, oh my gosh, 2017, 5 years ago, and it was a small exhibition, but a lot of people enjoyed seeing, you know, a different culture. Like they didn't know much about it, and it's basically a festival that takes place in Ethiopia every year, to commemorate the baptism of Jesus Christ. Like, we have one of the oldest religious societies in the world. Like, the Orthodox Christians of Ethiopia have been around for a long time, and most of our, you know, like the national obelisks and sites that we talk about, even in tourism and everything, is kind of connected. It always goes back to Christianity, you know? So I thought, I was there back in 2016 for my cousin's wedding, and I was like, it's exactly at the time when this celebration would be taking place. And I thought, this is a great opportunity. And my mom was like, oh, we could walk down, you know, to the neighborhood street and just see, you know, the celebration and be part of it. So I was like, grab my camera, out the door. And yeah, I was in the midst of it. It was amazing. It was just like fulfilling, you know? Because I grew up in those celebrations. I remember like such a nice feeling when it's approaching that time of year. Everyone's excited. Households are like preparing meals, and you know, songs being played everywhere. It's just such a beautiful time in Ethiopia. So I thought, I want to capture, you know, with my limited, you know, photography skills, I thought, I want to capture what I can and document this stuff, because you don't see it that much. I mean, I know a few photographers that have done it. And, you know, I thought, I have these photos and I want to share them. So yeah, when it came time to moving to Object, just a month ago, I was thinking, okay, first I'm gonna just do editions, like little editions here and there, just to build up my, you know, I guess exposure on in the TES world. And then I think I was talking in Victoria's space, and she said, "Oh, what, you know, are you gonna drop any one of ones?" Or someone was talking about one of ones, and I had already been thinking about the Ethiopia pictures, so I was like, I'm gonna just mention it, even if I haven't minted it yet. I'll mention it, you know, plant the seed. And then the next week, I was like, all right, time to mint these babies. So I sat down and, you know, put together a nice little description. And yeah, I minted my one of ones on Object. And then a few days after that, Misan, you know, Misan Harriman, he was talking in a space, I think it was Subodh space, and he was, you know, saying, oh, he's trying to collect like special photography that needs to be almost immortalized into the foundation. So I was like, damn, I need to get his attention, you know, because I know like we follow each other, but like I've never talked to him. I've heard him in spaces, and I've always thought, oh man, one day I hope I can get to have a chat with him. But when he was talking in that space and saying, you know, anyone from cultures and different cultures who want me to have a look at their work, send me a DM. I was like, you didn't even have to ask. Like, in the DMs, like, have you come across these photos from Ethiopia? And I just, dropped my object link. And then that same night, within a few minutes, he picked up one of them. And the one you just put up there is the one he picked up.
Wait, this one?
I think it's this one, or maybe it's the one where they're walking. If you go down to history, it should show you. The one on the left.
This one?
Yeah.
And can I say, Rach, I was in the room. It was really early in the morning, our time, wasn't it, Leo? I can't remember what time it was.
Yeah, the next day. That was the next morning.
It was like we were in the room, and suddenly Missan came in, and he said, "I've bought this piece," and the whole room just went. We were like, "Oh my God!" I think we were both speaking, weren't we?
Yeah. So he was in Victoria's Space the next day, and I thought, I want to thank him. Like the whole night, I was buzzing, right? Like this was at midnight that it happened. I couldn't even sleep properly. I was just so excited. And then the next morning, I went into Victoria's Space, and guess who's on the speakers? Misan. Yeah. So I was like, I need to go up there and tell him with my voice, like, thank you for collecting this, because it's so important to me. And for him to put it into the foundation was like mind blowing, And I went up there to talk, and I said, thank you to Misan. And next thing you know, while I'm talking, he's in there, like, getting 2 more pieces. I lost it. I was speechless.
Well, I'm not surprised at all that he grabbed at least 3 of these pieces, because as I was just flipping through them, there's some incredible moments you just captured. And I think one thing that we have to give a nod to you is that, many people can go to these situations. Like Sarah knows this. Like there can be many photographers and filmers at these locations or festivals or events, and not everyone's going to get a good picture. Not everyone knows where to put their camera and when to press that record button. And I think what you just did with this collection is something not everyone can do. Yeah. And it's so special, especially to the blockchain. It's such a beautiful nod to just the life and the joy. I was looking at that one image of like the crowd, and there in the corner was these 2 kids. And just that one section of just looking at these 2 kids, I was like, I was enthralled. I was almost tearing up at just the joy, the utter joy of life that you captured there.
Yeah. I was actually tempted to like crop them and just have it as an image, but I thought it might be too small. So I left it in the whole scene, because I feel like, those paintings from like the really old era, like there's so much going on and you just get lost in it. So I wanted to leave those images like that, because if you look at one corner, there's so much interaction, and then the kids on this side, and then the middle, there's so much. So I want to immerse people in the feeling of being there. So that's why I did that.
Yeah, and there's a saying, which is that, we are only the center of our own universe, right? We're all in this maelstrom, and we all think everybody knows the maelstrom that we're in. And certainly in that Katrina shot that you showed with that couple in the bottom left, they are in their own maelstrom, but pull back to see the scale of everything, which is what, Leo, you've just perfectly described. And Rach, I think, I was the same when I saw that shot. I went down into the corner, and I saw that that couple, the children, and I'm like, they're the center of their own universe, and everything else that's in the rest of the shot is almost an adjunct. Do you know what I mean? And I think it's wonderful when we can, see pieces of art like yours, you gorgeous girl, and feel that. It's really special, really special.
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you. I appreciate that. And also, Rach, thank you. I mean, coming from you.
No, it's not about me. It's seriously just how amazing both of you are. And I guess I had a question to you, Sarah, is what do you like better? Obviously you focus a lot on film and that, but you also have minted quite a few stills. what's kind of like your preference?
Gosh, it's a really interesting question. So I started out in the late 1980s. Yes, I am that old. Looking after an amazing English portrait photographer called Terry O'Neill. And there's the shot that's just there behind me, which is of his wife, Faye Dunaway. And it's called The Morning After the Oscars. And anyway, Terry was out in LA. He was on a job for Time Life magazine, and he shot her the morning after she got the Oscars for Chinatown. And it's one of the most iconic captures of that era of the late 70s into the 80s. And so Terry and Faye came back to London at the time that I had finished school. I was in London, I was in the film industry, and a friend of mine said, you know, Terry O'Neill's come back from LA. He's looking for somebody to run his studio, curate his exhibitions, organize his shoots. And I was like 23 or 24 or something like that. Anyway, I got the job, and it was his first it was like, you know, setting up his house, setting up his studio, putting together his portfolio, and then going through just boxes and boxes of contact sheets and trying to marry contact sheets to negatives. And nothing was curated, nothing was documented. But the reason I'm telling you that very long-winded story, Rach, is that that particular shot of Faye, he shot black and white, but he also shot color. So at that time, he would have a black and white body set up, stills camera, and a color body set up. And he was really better known for his black and white work, which I adored historically. But during the time that I was with him, I curated color exhibitions for him in London. And in fact, up until the time he died 18 months ago, I was still curating exhibitions around the world and buying for collectors around the world of his work. And so I really, you know, I had an extraordinary mentor for the 2.5 years that I was with him, in that I really learned that it's, in his case, it's all about the eyes. It's all about how the eyes are lit. And the eyes, you know, we know the eyes are the mirrors to the soul. And the lighting of the eyes, or in our case, that little left-hand corner of the Katrina shot, you know, something needs to draw you in, whether it's the eyes or the focal point. And so I moved really with him through black and white to color. And in fact, the color shot of Faye is probably even more iconic than the black and white to those that collect color and black and white. Now, that's a long answer to your question about, do I prefer photography or film? As filmmakers, we only shoot color. We haven't released anything black and white. We've made an IMAX film, all shot from the air, all over the world. That was in color. We worked with one of the most amazing directors we've ever worked with, which is a German maestro called Werner Herzog. And we made a film for him in Kuwait after the first Gulf War. And he rang us up. We were still in London then, and he rang us up and he just gave us, the brief was, make this Earth look like another planet, Sarah. So, you know, that was my brief to Jerry and to the camera crew, make this landscape look like another planet. And he left us to do what we do for 2 weeks, and then he joined us, and then he then did his magic with the material, with the music. And therefore, that's a very long answer, Rach, and I'm sorry for this, but I think that having adored black and white, which I do in a stills format, I think in film, the depth that you can have with color and with the grading that we particularly do, Jerry and I do, I think is, I don't know, it's, look at, color filmmaking is incredibly engaging for me. Having said that, the stills collection that we've released on Object and Sloika, we have some color and some that are more silver tones, not black and white, but we've graded them, or they were shot in the light that was silver, which we've then graded. I'm a still shooter, so you'll see a lot of my stills coming out this year, which are going to be quite different to what you've seen so far. But I'm always in the air when we're shooting film, and I've got my monitor, and I'm, Jerry's the director, but I'm kind of lining shots up. So I'm fortunate that we're able to do both, I guess. Long answer, sorry.
No, Sarah, wait.
Apologize.
Did you just say you're gonna release your own shots? Can't wait.
I am, but they'll be part of Sungrazers, and they're part of a collaboration that we're doing, which I'll tell you about in a couple of weeks. Ooh. And it's really exciting. Yeah. But it's Sungrazers. It's not Sarah. It's Sungrazers.
Yeah.
So it'll still be.
But we'll know it's. Well.
Oh wow. Okay, so you do not have to apologize for your long answer, because honestly, it just made your answer so much better. And
thank you.
It really alludes to the fact that there is no black and white really in life. Like, sure, we can have it in a photograph, but life is so many variations of gray. And just hearing that it made me start thinking. And I think that's the beauty of art and what you bring through your perspectives and your experiences.
Yeah, exactly. And I really, really would exhort you, if you're ever in LA or London, and you can see an exhibition of Terry's work and see the black and white of Faye and the color, it's called The Morning After, side by side, they have very different connections. And so there's not one right or wrong. It's just depending on, what we connect with.
Which is funny. I just landed in LA, but I'm only going to be here for about 8 hours.
Are you going back to Hawaii?
No. So actually, I'm heading back to the East Coast later this evening.
Oh my gosh.
There's a whole situation going on with my van, so I've had to fly out over here to take care of it.
Oh my God.
Wow. Yeah. Get some rest when you can.
I know. I'm just like, I have 2 hours. We have to go before I have to go to the police station, to go get it.
Shivers.
Wow.
And then you're not then driving across the East Coast, are you?
Oh, dear Lord, no.
I was going to say.
That'll be a long drive.
It's about 60 hours of driving time with the van. And I did just do that this past spring. I don't want to do it again anytime soon.
No, I mean, it's a long way. Jerry and I did a road trip a couple of years ago, Leah, with the drone, because we do shoot from drones too. And we drove from, it's called the Tip, and it's the northernmost part of Australia. It's called Cape York.
Yeah.
It's very, very remote, extraordinary landscape. We've got some, interesting material that you guys will see. And we drove from Cape York all the way back through Cairns, Sydney to Melbourne.
Whoa!
Which took about a week, but we were shooting as we went, so it was kind of fun.
That actually sounds fun. Yeah. What I want to do with my kids and husband is take the train across to Perth, because he's from Perth. So the gun, is it the gun?
Yeah.
I wanna do that one day. We'll see when we can do that. Kids being kids, we need to make sure they're up for it. Because once you're on there, right?
Really? Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. I had a question, but I totally got distracted by your kids. Because my parents, they traveled with me and my 4 other siblings ever since I was, I don't know, 3 years old. Internationally. They were, all over the place. And I think that kind of led to my little wanderlust lifestyle where it's just been all the time. But obviously my parents do not look as fondly onto those travel memories as I do as a kid, where they had to wrangle, 5 kids.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I just love the fact that you've dropped. I mean, I love the wanderlust in your name, and I know that you're now, and I know we know you, Rachel Wood, and I think we all know the wanderlust, and I think that kind of is endemic in your art. So keep the wanderlust alive.
Yeah,
Okay.
in the heart.
In the heart, absolutely.
In the heart.
Yeah. But before I think we should be wrapping up within the next like 15 minutes, just so we're not, taking too much of your time, and you can call your daughter and you can get back to your kids. But I did want to ask, since you started, Sarah, what's next for you guys in this space? And then I'm going to ask another question as a
Yeah. Okay. Well, excuse me. So we only released the Katrina collection on Object. I think it was last Friday, and there's only 3 pieces, and they're doing really well, which is great. And it's, the intention was to get the material out in the month of August, which is obviously when the hurricane came through in 2005. So we want to have more of a tribute to Katrina that comes out during this month. So we're working on that. Jerry and I are working on another collection, which we won't release until, I think, the beginning of September. And then Jerry, Toby and I are working on a collection which I hope will come out in September, which will be with music. And it'll be a twist on the kind of thing we do right now. That's all I can say. But all from the air still. We're not going to ground yet.
I realized my mic was muted. I was just saying, I love that. Oh my goodness, that's so exciting, and I'm very excited to see what you drop soon, because I think, like you said, you're releasing things and you're giving it time to be out there, but obviously you're a creator. You keep going, you keep thinking, you're still innovating, and I think that's really important to highlight. Yeah.
Thank you. Well, that's what we do, and I think what I've learned is that for those that are entering the space, is that however good your platform is, we have to do the marketing ourselves. However you do that, and I love it, but I don't think we realized how much of that we would do. We thought we would just be creating art. And obviously it's not just that. But I think that now that we can meet in real life as much as we can now, we can have connections like I can have with Leah, or gorgeous Australian artist in Melbourne called Nate Hill, gorgeous girl Jasmine Mansbridge, lives in Victoria. We'll go back to London in September and meet up with other British artists that we know. And that kind of thing.
Wait. You're going away in September? Because I'm heading to Australia.
No. When?
I don't have exact dates yet, but I was going to head over to Australia in September or October.
Okay, so we will be away the last 10 days of September, and we are then in a very big exhibition. I can't tell you where, but it's in Melbourne, and it's from the 11th to the 18th of October. So we have to be back for that, and it's an NFT exhibition. We'd love to see you. Wouldn't we love to see each other?
Okay, I'll just have to come at the beginning of September.
Before the exhibition.
Yeah.
Or come for the middle of October, because then you'll meet all the artists, Rach.
Oh, that's very enticing. Very enticing. But okay, we'll have to think about this.
Where is the exhibition, Sarah?
Well, it's an NFT exhibition, and it's not IRL. Well, it will be IRL, and it's in Melbourne. And I'll tell you,
they haven't decided location.
They have, but they haven't released it yet, darling.
Oh, okay.
I'll tell you. I can't tell you right now, but
yeah. Cool.
We'll have a drink next week, okay?
Gotcha.
Oh my gosh, I've never been more jealous of a wine date. So, Leah, please tell
Yeah.
us, share with us what kind of like your aspirations are going forward into the space of NFTs, or even if it doesn't concern NFTs, your own art. I'd love to hear more about that.
Yeah. So my focus right now is trying to get more eyes on my work. I do have a lot of work that I'm holding on to, which I'd love to release, but I feel like, going slow a little bit is a good idea because, I'm still growing in the space. I have 2,000 followers, which is not bad. Like I think in November, I had when I came in, I had 150. So for me to be at 2,000, I'm like, what? Yeah. So it's been amazing, So I'm just slowly trying to get my current work that's there to be seen. And I have stuff that I'm holding on to. I've talked to Sarah about my Black Lives Matter protest in Melbourne. I kind of went out there and took some shots, documentary shots. So I have those that I'm holding on to, but I don't know how I'm going to release them yet. But that's in the future,
Yeah.
Who knows? Who knows? So yeah.
And I think, just picking up on what you said, darling, I think the thing I feel the same, Rach, is getting eyes on our work, because I mean all of our work, but also when we got into Twitter, I think we probably had similar number, and I'm not sure how many we've got now either. Maybe, I don't know, 3,000, whatever it is. I can't remember. I'm not looking at the screen, but yeah, it's getting eyes on the pieces and getting the pieces into the right homes, the kind homes, the right homes.
That's it. Exactly. Because, retweets are great. I love that we're able to do that, because I know a lot of people don't see my work unless someone else retweets it. So, the more people retweet, the better. So for the NFT space, that is the way to go. Yeah.
Yeah, and retweeting is free.
Exactly.
It just takes time, and it doesn't take a lot of time.
Yeah.
But it could mean a lot. I know I've collected pieces from people who've retweeted something, and I'm like, oh. And then I go, of course, to the original artist, but it was by a retweet that I was able to get that piece of work versus, from the original post.
Yeah. Yeah. So since, Twitter is the only way to do it nowadays with NFTs, we just have to do the best we can on the Twitter spaces, and try to speak on spaces, which was tricky at first, but the more you do it, the easier it gets, I think. And the more people you kind of feel like, when I go into Victoria's space, I just feel like I'm at home, because she's so welcoming, and Leslie and her, they're both like, hey, nice to see you. It's like, hey, I'm home. So the more you do it, the better it gets. For the new people in NFTs, that's what I would say. Just go up, even when you feel nervous and shaky and sweating like crazy. Just go up and speak. Just go up and speak, because once you're there and you're speaking, you're touching people's hearts or whatever. Like someone is connecting with you, so you just never know the opportunities that come with that. So yeah, do it.
I think my first time when I spoke in a space, I don't know what I was saying. I didn't know what the heck I was even doing. But someone had messaged me, like DM'd me, and they're like, thank you for saying that. And that changed my entire feelings about spaces. I was like, oh,
Yeah.
someone
exactly
related to what I was feeling. And that was an amazing moment. I still, I'm not in spaces as much, but just that first, reaching out, that connection really gave me the confidence to be like, okay, this is not as bad. I'm okay. I can do this,
But don't stay in spaces for 6 hours.
For 6 hours. Oh my God. Sarah, I don't know how you do that.
Well, I think the thing is also that, you know, traditionally we would have had agents or we would have had galleries. And, you know, I am the producer in Heli Films, so I'm used to having a client interface and having to interface back with Jerry and the creative team. But this is a different level of marketing. You know, this is different to what I was doing for Terry, going to see magazines, going to see big clients, you know, presenting to Vogue or whoever it might be. This is on another level, because we are cutting through the noise. So maybe I shouldn't use that expression, and I don't mean it in a nasty way, but I just mean, and I think it's wonderful that with Web3, it's democratizing and a lot of people can come into the space. But for collectors, it's quite difficult to, you know, cut through and find art that has provenance, because I think provenance is really important. Again, coming from a traditional background and so on. And I think one of the things I would really like to see in the future, because we collect a lot in H bar particularly, but a little bit in TES more now. But I would really like to see, if I'm buying a collection or, you know, a limited edition, I'd like to be able to choose number 1 out of 50 and number 50 out of 50, just like you can in real life, and you pay a premium. And I know that you can do that in real life because that's what I've been used to for 25 years. So I think that, you know, the industry's got a way to mature, and I know that's to do with contracts and ERC 721 and manifold. And okay, I think Rach wants us to go, but now we've opened up another subject.
There's one thing I forgot to mention. when you said you can choose the number of editions, you can actually do that if you create a manifold contract.
I know.
So that's what I've done.
It's fucking hard, isn't it?
Together editions, I did, you know, I made sure to have each token so that people can choose if they have a favorite number, they could, you know, reserve that and have that. So that's one way to do it. It's already there.
But can you put number 1 and number 50 at different prices like you can in the print world?
Yeah, when you list on the platform, whichever platform you choose, Foundation, OpenSea, whatever, you decide the price. So yeah.
I need to figure that out.
I'll help you out.
Thank you.
I love it. I think what you said was the provenance. I think that's something that's so important, especially given the blockchain technology. And it is something to remind artists who are on the fence about NFTs, and to remind collectors as well that this is not just, you know, a JPEG you can just right click save. It is way beyond that. And what you said before, you said it just slips my mind. Wow, my brain just like brain farted.
No, don't worry.
It's like late night for you. I mean, early morning. So you're forgiven.
What was it? It was okay. You guys can go back to talking because it'll come back to me.
No. That's so. I think the whole manifold thing. Look, I've been in rooms with quite big collectors who've said they won't buy from artist manifold contracts. They would rather feel more comforted by going to a platform like a Foundation or a Known Origin or Maker's Place, and the contract has been effectively verified by the platform.
The platform.
What's that, Dal?
Yeah, the platform. Yeah. Verified by the platform.
Yeah, rather than it being a manifold contract. But, you know, I think, again, it's because the manifold contract is still it's not early days, but it's still relatively early days. I'm trying to think also, Rach, about my point about provenance. I think, you know, we started off on curated platforms. We're only on curated platforms in film. And in stills, we've gone with objects, which is not curated, because we wanted to be on TES, because we're environmental filmmakers. That's our background. You know, our mantra is conserve, preserve, and sustain the planet. So we've always been looking for a platform we, just sat more comfortably with. And we looked at Hicket, Nunc and Calamint, and, that they weren't right for us last year. But I felt that by going with a curated platform in our early days, it would at least say to collectors, there's been a gatekeeper. And I know some people don't like gatekeepers. I understand that. But I think that, film is still very early days in NFTs. What we do is not in the NFT world. Yes, we sold our 2 Genesis a year ago. We've sold 100 pieces of other films on HBAR platforms, and that's what we're known for. But in Ethereum, it's crickets in film still. So again, sorry, I'm opening up a few more subjects. Maybe we can talk another day.
I was gonna say the same thing about Ethereum, because my chasing waves is motion, and like it's sitting there and it's had one buyer, that's it. So I kind of feel like we're not there yet with the right collectors for film, but hopefully soon.
I remember what I wanted to say, and that was, you said something about how the space was not yet mature enough. And I do want to just say I agree. I think artists are still figuring out what they're doing, figuring out how to really present themselves in a way that can be viewed by hundreds of thousands of people all around the world. But I also think collectors, and this has nothing to do with collectors, I know, it's people who collect. We're new to it. A lot of people who I know are new to collecting art, and there's an art to collecting art. There's a maturity that happens for, like you, Sarah, and you, Leah, that have so much more depth to your art. And then, you get someone who might be younger, who might not have really spent time studying art or cinemagraphs or, film or photographs or even painting. And they're just like, oh, that's pretty, I'll buy it.
Yeah.
There's another layer to collecting. And I think over time, we will see that depth deepen within this space with collectors, but we do have to give it time. Because I know for myself, I've changed as well as a collector, and I do see it happening slowly. But we also have to remember as artists that our collectors might not even be in the space.
Yeah, exactly. Look, it's really interesting. So the 2 Genesis pieces that sold a year ago this week, one today and one tomorrow, went to the same family, different people, and they are fine art collectors. They didn't have a they didn't have a MetaMask. They'd never heard of crypto, but they've been to our film openings around the world, and they collect sculpture and black and white photography and beautiful Aboriginal art. They live in Melbourne, actually. And they just bought the 2 pieces, and then they will exhibit them on the wall in their stunning penthouse apartment. And they had that vision a year ago when people weren't even putting film in the cases that we're now all familiar with. I've got 5 in my office because that's how I do my QC. And this they're in their late 70s. Picking up on what you're saying, Rach, they were just like, this is new art. This is what we want. Which it was, I was like, but again,
validation.
Yeah, but going back to the provenance, they've known us for 20 years. So they've seen our trajectory, Maybe that's got something to do with it.
I would agree. I think that's why a lot of people in the beginning were focused on build community, build your brand. And I know those 2 words are very triggering to a lot of people where they're like, fuck that. What do you mean? What? It's not true. Like, this is just a scam. But like you said, Sarah, there's this provenance, and that is only verified and created over time. That's created through actions. That's created through our history of in real life. And like Liat, her little feather in her cap of being in the Nat Geo Your Shot, I think, is it Your Shot?
Yeah.
Now, little nod from them, like that. Those are all things that add up to who you are in this space. So I think a lot of people forget that they need to keep, being a creator in real life, and not just fully
Yeah.
focus on like Twitter, because what happens once you stop?
Yeah,
You're no
that's
longer who you are.
Yeah.
that's true.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's exactly right. That's exactly right. And I think also, Rach, because you're an artist and a collector, I mean, and I know we've all become collectors, but you've got a really broad range of work. You can best advise us how to best put ourselves forward. I mean, don't you think, Leo?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
why I'm in Artverse, man.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. No. Absolutely. I'm happy to share, but I also think it's never really my job or really my responsibility as a collector to tell people what to do. I can tell them what I like. I can
Yeah.
tell people, what works for me and things, but art is subjective. And I think as artists who are OGs in this space, you guys get to shape how collectors view you. I really do believe that. I really do believe that when you start, as you as artists start valuing yourselves, when you start innovating and really setting the precedent of who you are in the space, I, as a collector, I like seeing that. And I, as a collector, sometimes I'm like, ooh, I can like kind of try to predict where they're going. I'm going to get into them now because I see their vision. I see their passion. I see the fact that they have been doing this for, years before, or, doing this for not money, or, writing on their big name or something. They're doing it for the love. And I think that speaks as an artist too. I like to see it coming from a place of authentic joy versus, other
Reasons, yeah.
reasons.
Yeah, I totally see that. Yeah. I mean, for me, it's the passion, and I don't think it'll ever die. It's one of those things that's ingrained in me. I've always loved creating. I also create music, by the way. I do all kinds of stuff, but I'm also a dancer. So my whole body is like create. So I feel like in my real life job, I'm a family photographer. Like that's what I do besides NFTs. And I really enjoy capturing joy and love and everything in between. So it's like, if you say, oh, why do you do documentary photography? That's exactly it. Like I try to capture that in a realistic manner where I'm not controlling anything. I just want to capture real moments and real, just genuine happenings. So, as an artist, that's important.
I had a question for you, Liat. So obviously Sarah has Jerry, who is not on the interview, but he's kind of lurking in the corners. I see in the comments.
Oh, is he? Oh,
Yeah.
shit.
It's in the comments. Is
I'm not looking.
He needs to sing his way into here. But Liat, has your partner? Does he know really what you're doing with NFTs, or is he just kind of like, that's your thing?
Yeah, he kind of lingers. Like he doesn't get involved. He's just like, oh, you're doing NFTs, okay. Like I always give him updates. I'm like, oh, my edition's sold, and he's like, what's that? And then I have to kind of talk him through it.
Right.
And say this is what it is, and then he's like, so how's it going on Ethereum? And he's like so proud of himself because he remembered Ethereum. So yeah, it's like that. But I think having a supportive partner is so important because I couldn't have been able to do this. Like when he sees me on Twitter Spaces, he knows what's going on. He's like, okay, you're on Spaces again, okay. And sometimes he pops in and talks to my friends, so it's nice. But other than that, he kind of stays back, like gives me space to experiment and, you know, just, yeah, go through it.
That's
It's
great.
not, yeah,
Oh, that's really great. Thank you for sharing that.
no worries.
So I guess we should wrap it up. It is coming to be like an hour and a half. But I would love to keep going, but I do need sleep. But I do have a last question for both of you. And that is, what is your biggest word of advice for those of us who are feeling burnt out in this space? Not for new people, not for new people coming into NFTs, but for people who have been into the space, who know kind of like the good and the bad and all of that. How would you, I guess, talk to them or tell them to
Do
stay
you
in
want me
this?
to go? Do you want me to go, Leo? Do you want me to...
I was about to say, go, Sarah, and then I'll go.
Okay, all right, darling. So I think it's really, really important to have your own center. And whether you're in a partnership, like I'm in a partnership with Jerry and Toby, you still have to have your own strength. You have to have your own center, because you can't bleed over others. You can't, be drippy over others. And in Leah's case, she is her own island, but I'm also my own island. And therefore, if I'm my own island, I have to take care of me, because if I don't take care of me, nobody else can take care of me. And so for me, I do what Leah does every day. I do wake up, I do go to the groups, I do look at what's been happening, I do send messages, but then I get out into nature. And whether I walk along the river, or I walk in the botanical gardens, or I walk in the country, and I do it every day. And the other thing I do yoga every day, and I go to a class, and I've been doing it for 25 years. I'm an OG, as you can see. And Jerry says, why are you going to classes? Don't you know what you're doing? And I'm like, I'm going to the class because if I'm in the class, I'm not doing anything else. And I think I come back, I feel better. I feel better for those two little things I do. I'm not perfect. I do scream. Not as much as I used to. And that's just what I literally do. But I think that you're asking a bigger question, Rach, which is, and my answer is, you need to stay in your own center in the way that is your center. And the way I do it is going to be different to the next person. I don't do lots of acid and methamphetamines and whatever it is. I'll have a glass of champagne tonight to toast our Genesis. I do other things. So I think you have to take care of yourself. You have to take ownership of yourself, which sounds hard. And I think the other thing I'd say is that when you create the communities around you that are real, that you speak your truth to, like my original KO fam, and I can see a gorgeous fellow, Gas and Akel, who's one of my best friends in this community, is making comments because I've just opened that. There are people I speak to every week. Trent North is another one. And Leah and I tap each other back and forth. And I think you have to, like you would in real life, find those people that speak their truth, that you can speak your truth to, because this looks great, that's lovely, but actually it's not that helpful. And I seek people that speak their truth to me. I don't know if that's helpful or not.
Yeah, I hear that. You need genuine interaction, and yeah, I get that because with the groups, I feel that's where they come in handy. It can be a time waster sometimes because you're just in there talking nonsense, but then in between that, there's always realness that happens because you've connected on so many levels, and it's good to have real, genuine conversations. But yeah, like you said, Sarah, you need to get out. Like sometimes just put the phone down and go for a walk, or
Yeah.
go for a class. For me, I do Zumba, which
Yeah.
helped me because I love dance. So, one of my friends was like, "Oh, I go to this Zumba class," and it happened to be like around the corner from my place. So I was like, no excuse. I cannot be lazy. So I do that, and yeah, it really energizes me. Like when I come back, I'm like,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
ready to take over the world. So yeah, definitely, music is one of the greatest things for me. I love dancing, even when I'm cooking. Like you can ask my husband. He's like, "What are you doing?" I'm in the kitchen dancing as I'm, loading the dishwasher or whatever. And that's my way of staying sane, in this crazy world. And I don't watch news. That's another thing. If you want to stay sane, don't watch news. It's just crazy. But yeah, that's how I do it. Yeah. What do you do, Rach?
Yeah. That's my next question.
No, that answer is really sad because I don't. I don't do anything. I basically work really hard on Twitter, and then when I take time off, I'll really take that off, and that's just it's a clear head line in my head where I'm like, I'm not going to feel guilty for taking the time that I need off the space. Even though sometimes, I'm like, oh, I need to do more for Artverse. Like, there's so many things that need to be happening, and I'm like, Rachel, breathe. It takes time. You got to do it right, not right now. And that's something that I've been working on this past year, because I've always in the past been like, I need to do it right now. I need to do it right now. I need to do it right now. I need to get this done. And in NFTs, it's kind of amplified with just how fast the space moves and just all the newness. But I think finding that eye of the hurricane, finding your tribe, finding essentially your safe space, like you said, like that's where the DMs and the group chats happen. That's where, sometimes you can be like in a GIF battle with like 5 other people at 5 a.m. in the morning. And other times you can be really helping each other through something very hard in someone's life. And that's a safe space. And I
Yeah.
think that's so important to have, not only to protect yourself, but to also be there for other people. That's what community is. It's this give and take. And I think a lot of people have lost that in Web 2. Instagram, it's all about what can people give me? What can I, make myself look like or be presented as, and how can they give to me? There's none of that reciprocity in Web 2, in my opinion. And that's the beauty of what we're doing here, of why we're here. Like you said, it's the community, it's the connection,
Exactly.
all of that.
Yeah, 100%. I agree with that. The Web 2, not there at all. It's just gone. It used to be there at the beginning, but I feel like it's lost it. So, and I've heard Meta is, rolling out NFTs on Instagram. I'm like, it's so contradictory. I don't know. We'll see.
I mean, but to be like, they're still like prioritizing videos. And sorry, Sarah, as a photographer, I'm like, fuck that. I don't want to do that. Like, reels? No. Look at my art.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I get that. I get that totally. And I don't think that, certainly when we started out last year, it was a nightmare getting Instagram, our little pieces on Instagram. They were 3-minute pieces or a minute pieces. And Instagram was not the place for them. It was literally a nightmare, because it wasn't enabled in that way. And then suddenly it became enabled. And now, of course, everybody's putting up just
Everything.
Everything. I think the other thing I'd say, Rach, to answer your question is that, and I've been able to do it with both of you ladies individually, and this is what, to answer your question about what we say to others that have been in the space. When you see shit happening, call it out, and call it out with your tribe and make it stop. Because there's a level of toxicity, not that we want to end on this a low note, but there's an end of toxicity which just doesn't work for me. And you call it out to your community or on a one-to-one basis, and then you drop just like you would in real life. You know, if somebody behaved badly in real life, you give them a chance, and if they don't mend their ways or you don't have a rapprochement, you know, you don't have dinner with them, you don't hang out with them. And I think there's been too much kind of giddiness, really, all being very giddy.
Yeah.
I would agree. I know this can be a bad note, but I think it's also a good note to end on, where I think we talked about transparency in the blockchain and, you know, proof of authenticity and that sort of trustworthiness. And I think, you know, we are in the baby stages of NFTs, which also means we have to kind of treat ourselves like babies. We have to treat each other and
Some people
treat
act like babies.
Yeah, you know who. You know, we have to call out bad behavior, because if no one does it, it's going to keep happening. And I am a strong believer of, if you want something to change, if you want a different life, you got to do things differently. You got to do different shit. And I think a lot of us are at that point of, we want something different. And the only way we can achieve that is by doing something different. And that's by calling each other out. That's by speaking our truths. That's by not being fully on the attack, but, you know, being responsible and adults. Because isn't that what we should be?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Rachel, thank you so much for this.
Oh my gosh.
Amazing.
No,
Yeah.
stop it. I should be the one thanking both of you. I mean, I've learned so much about both of you. I'm so honored to be able to share a tiny glimpse of just the badass women that both of you are. I mean, like, seriously, like, goals.
Yes.
You know, we can do it.
Yeah.
Oh my God, wait, those guns. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh no, I can't do that. That's terrible. I can't believe I just did that.
How many have you had?
But
I want to say to Sarah as well, like, you fully supported me from the start, and I can't take that lightly. Like, you're amazing, and I'm glad that we've met in real life as well. And I hope, you know, this relationship can go for a long time, very long time. So thank you for that.
Yeah,
it's on the blockchain. It's forever.
The relationship is on the blockchain.
Exactly. Well, I'm going to the Picasso next weekend at the NGV. So we need to do some exhibitions in real life, but I know you've got the family, so we'll just do that kind of stuff when you want to. And also to say to you, Rach, please, will you DM us when you're coming to Melbourne? Because whether it's the beginning of September or when we're doing that exhibition in October, we definitely, you're going to come shooting? Yes. Oh, wow.
Australia is the last continent I've not been to. So I have to get there.
Oh my gosh. Well, we would love to be able to, Jerry and I would love to be able to have you for dinner with Leah and her husband, and, you know, we'll do what we can to introduce you to people. And for the old girl around the table, thank you. Thank you for including
You don't even act old.
So I know. I'm like, what is this old girl? I think she just likes to say she's an OG.
Yeah.
So not, no. Thank you, girls. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. And I hope you both have a great rest of the day. And I'm looking forward to what comes from both of you in the future. I think you both are going to change the game and set such a great example for many, many more people to come into the space.
So thank you. And you get some rest.
No. No, I have more stuff to do. But it's good. It's good. Thank you so much. Goodbye.
Thank you. Bye.